Hello there and welcome to the studio roundtable today on leadership triage. What skills do CMOs need to prioritise for 2023 and beyond? I'm Doug Drinkwater, I'm the Director of Strategy here at Hot Topics, and today we're looking at what makes a good marketing leader, what skills do they need to prioritise, and ultimately how do they prove value at a time of economic downturn. I'm joined by a panel of experienced marketing leaders from across the globe. Thanks all for joining me today. Let's start then with what we think defines a successful CMO in 2023. And Sally, I'm going to start with you as you're opposite me.
Thank you very much. So what defines a successful CMO? Well, during any times of uncertainty, being very clear as you possibly can be on the vision of where you want to get to and thinking beyond today or even beyond tomorrow and painting that picture for the future for both your own organisation but for the company to really think about that strategy and that direction is going to be really important. But then at the same time breaking that down into achievable areas of success, if you like, that you can then work and sort of all move towards is going to be really important. And I think as an individual, and this is something that I talk to my team a lot about, during these times of greyness and uncertainty, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I think is a very important skill that we should all try and develop.
Smeet, what's your thoughts?
I think we're going through a period of economic downturn, as you said, and so we are, average deal sizes are a lot smaller, pipelines much more difficult to sort of get. Salespeople are really struggling to kind of close business, and so we have to be really cognizant, I think, as CMOs about that. And so I think personally, there's a real focus on go-to-market, and what can we be doing to rethink our go-to-market approach. So are we looking at being much more aligned from a data standpoint, from a kind of measurement standpoint, from a go-to-market approach in terms of campaigns? There's still a lot of siloed working happening. How are we reducing wastage and how are we being more efficient with our resources? How are we restructuring the resources that we have and aligning them to a new P&L scenario where we may be looking at a business scenario where costs do have to come down? And on the flip side of that, how are we looking future facing? So thinking about sort of how we're going to reposition marketing for an AI world. How are we looking at AI as a whole? Are we looking at sort of the best CMOs that I'm working with and speaking to at the moment are ripping up the rule book. They are looking at understanding sort of what is the initiatives and the campaigns that are accelerating pipeline the most and how can AI support that? Are my team and are my skills sort of, the skill makeup of what we have within our function appropriate for where we're going? And equally, can we be the vanguard for what AI strategy looks like in our organisation? And so I think those two things are probably the key focuses, I think, for successful CMOs in 23.
Fantastic. Steve, what's your thoughts?
I like what you brought there, a few points you brought. I think for CMOs, successful CMOs, there's three things you're trying to achieve. There's one, drive growth for the business. Secondly, you're going to try and increase revenues, and that could be creating new revenue streams as well as existing revenues to customers. And thirdly, it's about enhancing brand value and the brand. But the backdrop is we are operating in a very uncertain economic time where there's headwinds that you need to navigate. And you mentioned costs. So the biggest thing is for CMOs is positioning marketing as that platform for growth and not a cost center. Because if you're seen as a cost center, you'll have your budgets reduced. And we've seen that marketing's moved from being arts and crafts through to driving things like performance marketing, like lead generation, demand generation. And most modern marketing organizations now position themselves to be revenue marketing. So really looking at how you drive revenue in partnership with sales. So you spoke about some of the challenges and how you can build predictable, sustainable revenue streams with sales. Using data to understand where you can win big in certain segments or sectors. And actually, if you've got AI in your it's mentioned somewhere, you think you're going to be successful. And I think for all of us, it's trying to understand is what does AI mean to improving the way we drive value back to the business.
Lots of great comments there, I think, on revenue growth, less silos, more unified teams working together. Michelle, you're joining us virtually at the studio. What's your opening thoughts on what makes a successful CMO in 2023?
Sure. So thanks for having me, first of all. So marketing has been one of the disciplines that has changed the most over the past years. So my colleagues has talked about digital transformation, AI, ML, analytics, customer behavior. So we know that it's the age of disruption right now. So the only certainty that we have is that it will continue to happen and change. And I see many aspects for CMOs to be successful. And one of the first one would be relentless curious. So pursue the curiosity to learn whatever is going to come our way. The only truth is that it will continue to happen, and the change will continue to be in a fast-paced scenario, and we need to cope with that and to reinvent on behalf of our customers and to understand everything that is changing and coming our way and learning how to learn as well. So I think the first aspect would be curiosity. The second one, I think it's crucial, is to understand people really well, understanding our customers and our teams, really understanding from inside and out what are the pains, what are the challenges, what are the issues from the customers, so we can really support them really well. And the third aspect would be collaboration. So I think with the three of them, which is really broad, so thinking about all the changes that are about to come, we have no idea what's going to come, but we know they are coming. And in terms of technology challenges, economics, and everything, I think it's a combination of things that we need to have on top of our minds to support customers and teams and to be a better marketer moving forward.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Michelle. 2023, obviously, Steve, has provided a lot of challenges, and I'm going to look at both yourself and Sally in the tech sphere. We're obviously hearing many of the big tech vendors have had layoffs. That whole point around proving value, proving revenue for the company is really, really important right now. But how would you identify the main challenges today for a marketer in 2023? What stands out for you?
I think if we take a step back, it's that economic uncertainty that we need to deal with it. Money is no longer free. We've lived through the last decade of having literally access to capital. And it's not that way anymore. So what's happening in the boardroom, there's pressure on costs, there's pressure on budgets, there's pressure on resources. So I think for us as leaders and market leaders and for CMOs is how do you set expectations correctly with the board about how you operate in a climate like this. I like what Sally was saying earlier about setting the vision to inspire team members to go and drive, because at the moment, we're trying to drive productivity across our organisations and efficiency within our teams to probably cover some of the things where we don't have the budgets that we had maybe 12, 18, 2 years ago. So I think everything's about the context in the environment. And on the flip side, I like what was just spoke a minute ago about the customer, put the customer first. Today, the customer is king. They're more informed than your salespeople, so that gives you another challenge. There's also a myriad of different options for them to choose as a supplier or when they buy. So no longer do customers get in line, you serve them and do modernisation of your supply chain to support that demand. Now you're fighting for every customer to win. And you need to ensure you're driving value and position yourself to win in this age of disruption. Because essentially, if you've got a strong brand, you can enter any market. That's what digital disruption has enabled today. You just see where Amazon now sells cloud services, but was a bookstore, but is now is also the biggest online retailer. So, and they've done that through looking at using data to identify those kind of opportunities.
Yeah. Sally, how do you see it at Ericsson? I guess it's a different company entirely to Nutanix. So what's those kind of challenges that have emerged this year? I guess the macroeconomic environment is obviously almost, it crosses all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, at Ericsson, we're in 180 countries across the world, and my role is I manage 100 of those. So I run a marketing and corporate affairs team across 100 of those. And it's certainly challenging on the budget side of things as well as on the people side of things. And so for me, what we're very much focused on, though, is retaining the talent that we have, because it's still a very competitive market. So to make sure that we retain the talent we have, as a leader, I'm constantly challenging myself and my leaders in my team to ruthlessly prioritise. Do we add the most amount of value if we work on this? Sure, we can do a ton of stuff and we can add a lot of value, but do we add the most amount of value on these things? Because ultimately, what we've realised is that if we do an annual survey every year and we ask our company, our employees, a ton of questions, but one of the things we ask them is, do you have a good balance between do you have a good balance? And that's a really challenging area for us. And typically when we think about balance, we think about how much time do I spend at work versus how much do I spend at home. But we've been trying to shape that slightly differently, and we've been thinking about, when I am at work, am I working on the things that really make a difference? Am I actually focused on marketing activities, or am I doing a ton of other stuff that, quite frankly, lots of other people could do, but there aren't the people to do it? So we've been really focusing on what we call sort of be more, but do less. So we want to add more impact, but actually do less things. So we often think about prioritization as just completely stopping things, but we're thinking about the things that we do, we really want to add that more impact. And I think that will have an impact on our business, on our customers, but ultimately on the talent, to make sure that we retain that talent inside of Ericsson.
Just briefly on that,
be more.
So be more,
Yeah.
Do less. Is there the element of storytelling, communication you need to do within the business to set almost what's achievable and what's not?
Yeah, I mean, that came from within inside my own team. So we got together as a leadership team. As I said, we spanned a lot of countries, and so I cover South America, Central America, and Europe. So we came together actually as a leadership team in Athens. And we as a team came up with what are the 5 things that we really need to focus on for the next 3 years, because we look ahead, to make sure that we add the most amount of value. And that was one of them. And we called them the Athens Agreement. You can't be in marketing without a good slogan. So, and then that's where I think my role, and I think it's an absolute privilege, I go to sell that internally. My job is to make sure that my team can successfully go and execute on the things where we can add the most value. And I have the wonderful opportunity to try and align my peers to make sure that we're in agreement as much as we possibly can about the value that marketing can bring.
Yeah, Sally's spoken there about prioritisation. I imagine that's a word that will come up time and time again in this conversation. You're ex-WellPay, you work some pretty big companies, some smaller ones as well. How much do you think that kind of company size, that sector, even the region, impacts that level of prioritisation that you need to do?
I think external factors are the key when it comes to kind of the size of organisation. If you are a smaller business, sort of 10, 20 million annual recurring revenue, you may have been looking to get further investment to go on your journey. That world has fundamentally changed. And so you are having to repivot and re-engineer what marketing looks like. A lot of businesses are now focusing on sustainable growth rather than growth at all costs. And so even sort of larger companies, Salesforce, I think, grows on average about 18% a year at the moment. And their cost base is 40%. And actually that's not sustainable in a world where you don't have infinite money. And so whether you're a small organization or a large organization, it's really re-engineering sort of what you do for the world that we are in now. And when it comes to prioritization, the shift is coming. The shift is coming from lead generation and acquisition to lifetime value and retention and growing sustainably over time, rather than we're going to go and acquire as many customers as possible at volume, which is at a smaller organization level. And then at an enterprise level, I'm seeing that bigger organisations are having to re-engineer how they go to market, partnerships, ecosystems, community, rather than traditional demand generation. And then, so it varies dependent on kind of the size of organisation, but the economic headwind is the essence of everything.
Michelle, what are your thoughts on that prioritisation and how it differs by industry, company size and other factors?
For me, I think it's similar to what he just described. So thinking about the size and the moment that the company is facing for. So I have been working with many startups in the past years. So it's very different from mid-size and enterprise companies with less structure, less support inside of the organization. So we have different strategies that we are facing together and working together to grow these companies and looking for investments and looking for, as the other colleague also mentioned, cloud businesses to help them scale and do more with less, and looking for partnerships that are going to help them grow and scale over time. And it's very different from for me now at Maersk with an enterprise organization, how we're looking into prioritize the right things to do. Sally just mentioned that it's really critical that we focus on the right things, and the things I think it's critical also the ones that we're not going to do. So prioritization is really key to focus on the right customers. And I think the set of bundle of customers that we organize inside of the organization to support them all. So thinking from marketing, how we're going to be supporting from the digital aspects, the small and medium-sized customers that do not have a marketing department over there, how we're going to be educating them, how we're going to be supporting them grow their businesses, as opposed as the enterprise customers that have an enterprise account manager that are supporting them over time, how we supplement each other working together to make all those customers to be successful. So at Maersk, we serve all types of businesses from small, mid to large ones, and we need to be really cognizant on the stage of the journey that they are, on how to support with the marketing strategies together with the other business units inside of the business, how we supplement and come together to make our customers stronger, regardless of the journey that they are and their size, with the things that are really going to move the needle for them.
Fantastic, thanks for that, Michelle. Let's shift gears a bit to the personal skill sets that CMOs have. The whole topic of today is what skills should CMOs prioritise, and we've already spoken without almost mentioning it, that relevance and making sure marketing is still relevant for the company and what it's trying to achieve for its customers. Sally, what's your view in terms of the skill sets that CMOs need to focus on? Because I guess it's an always evolving, you can't stand still in this industry, so you've got to keep yourself relevant and make sure you're providing ultimately value.
Yeah, and I think I look at it two different ways. I think one is making sure that you're really connected to what it is that you do as a business. And that sounds a pretty obvious thing to say, but actually getting out there and meeting with customers, being part of that customer journey, because if you are part of that customer journey, and never be too far from it. I joined Ericsson just as the pandemic started, so back in April 2020, in this international role, and I didn't leave my spare bedroom for 18 months. And in one hand it was super frustrating, but the other actually I got access to more people because everybody was at home. So I had that opportunity. So really challenging myself to keep relevant. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, how long you've been in the company. This world is changing. So don't be too far from it is one thing. And then the second thing, which is almost the opposite of that, is recognize what your superpowers are and your department's superpowers and own them. And for me, that is around, and I think for me, that's around storytelling as one of the things. And I think sometimes as professionals, we shy away from something that is so nichely ours because we think we want to be part of everything else. But I wouldn't do that because I don't want to fight and argue with anyone else about who owns what. So for me, storytelling, painting that picture and thinking in that kind of customer-centric way of what the future looks like, will inspire others to be able to do their job that they need to do, whatever department they're in.
What's your thoughts now? I guess what I'm curious about is almost to Sally's point there, how you maintain what you're good at, the value that you bring, but also serving the business, because they're not always mutually exclusive. I'm sure there'll be areas they're asking you to go in that may be out of your comfort zone. So what's your take on how you approach that?
I think any marketeer has to have a growth mindset. It's just innate in our function that, everything changes so rapidly. We have to have the ability to be open-minded to that possibility and embrace it. And so I think it's in our DNA to have that essence. I think for me, sales skills, marketeers have to be the best salespeople in the business. The reason is because everyone's got a view of marketing. And so actually, internal marketing is as important, if not more important, than external marketing in order to kind of bring a business, bring a C-suite, bring sort of employee bases along with you on that journey. The second is change management. And again, I've done it myself. I kind of qualified in change management because I'd been through so many different organizational changes in my career. I thought I probably should figure out if there's a best practice for this. And so being able to take organizations through transformation journeys, marketing continually evolves and we have to transform ourselves and the business. And the third one is being human, being able to coach our teams through various scenarios. And I think we saw it through COVID. I think COVID was the enema of kind of having to be the most human, most impressive leader that you could be in order to take the strain. Right? CMOs went through, and leaders per se, as well as everyone, went through a particular challenge of having marketing being a really key focus when sales was really couldn't be out there in the field, as well as trying to kind of manage with probably limited resources that weren't set up for that world. And so I think those three areas are key for me.
And Steve, we're talking about growth mindset and developing as a leader. Are there other areas of either internally within the business or externally where you can take that inspiration? Are there other departments within the business? Are there suppliers that you can almost pick their brains and develop? We're obviously seeing the traditional, IT, finance, legal departments, but you're also seeing new areas like data science, sustainability, ECG is becoming a big priority. Are there areas of the business that you can almost hang on to their coattails and develop yourself?
And I think it's understanding why businesses exist and how they operate. There's essentially 5 functions. There is grow the business, which is your business strategy, what's your 3-year strategy as a business and how you're going to drive growth through increased revenue. There's mitigating risks, so how you mitigate risks. There is talent. We both spoke about talent here, how to get access to talent and talent pools. There's also financial planning, so what's the role of the CFO? So what investments do the organisation need to make? And then finally, you've got ESG, or corporate social responsibility. So sustainability is becoming one of the biggest topics in diversity and inclusion about. So how do you drive brand purpose is something that the CMO needs to also consider when you move forward. But they're the 5 tenets, and you can almost link anything you do from a marketing campaign or program to those pillars. I think it's very easy to go straight down to I deliver a product or a service. We're not understanding the kind of broader ecosystem of why that solution or product or service is being deployed by an organisation. And you almost need to get to a higher order challenge that businesses are trying to solve. It is really about growth, finance, talent, or the other things that I thought about. But then it's also about, so you need to understand that kind of from a business perspective.
So it's embedding yourself in the business.
I think it's embedding the system, but it's also your customers have got the same challenges. Every customer has the same challenge. They're trying to do those things. So it's how do you drive value from marketing into customers, as well as driving value into kind of your stakeholders internally as well.
Yeah. And then my last question today, and Michelle, I'll start with you. if we're 1 year on from now, or if we're 5 years on from now, in what way do you think the CMO or marketing director job will be different? How will it evolve over those two timeframes?
Yeah, so I think the changes we have witnessed thus far pale in comparison to what lies ahead. And I think we need to be really open to grow and to learn how to learn the things that we don't know what's coming our way. So technology will change the amount of data that we're going to be connecting from the customers. And I think we really need to zoom out from our marketing batch and to be really connected to the business. So really think about the enterprise and how it impacts all areas of the business. But I would always start always from the customer. This reverse engineering that we need to do and thinking about what really matter most for them, for us to be able to design strategies and to organize the entire organization, connecting the dots and not thinking just about marketing. At Maersk, we always have these conversations weekly on how everything is impacting customers, economy, the markets, and it's not always something that favors my team and the marketing team, but sometimes it's the right thing for us to do as an organization for the customer, for the society, and for everybody inside of the customers and our team. So I think it's going to be different in a way that we're going to have more diverse teams and also more responsible to the societies and also in the pace that we're facing changes right now. So I think we need to be really agile to be able to innovate on behalf of customers and teams, and also to learn the things that we don't know what's coming. So I think it's really important and crucial that we be prepared. We're going to be prepared for whatever comes our way. We had no idea 2 years ago that pandemic would hit. So we need to think about what would be the next wave, hopefully not another pandemic, but you know what I mean? So thinking about things that we need to learn to be prepared and to be better leaders, how we serve our teams and how we serve our customers and how we become better people and open for innovation and experimentation and pivoting quickly when needed. So I think that's the key thing for us as thoughts.
Fantastic, thank you, Michelle. Sally, what's your thoughts? 1 year from now or 5 years from now, how would that role have changed?
I think it's very exciting. I think, as we described already, I mean, I think we're in a good position as marketeers. We've been used to change. I mean, we've had to change, we've had to adapt. We're very customer focused. I think as things continue to change and to develop, as long as we keep that curiosity of a mindset, as long as we are agile, and as long as we continue to be great leaders and support our people to be the best that they possibly can be. Now, that talent may look very different, the types of skills you might need. You may get the skills in different ways, whether you use technology to get your skills or you use humans to get your skills. Those things are all definitely going to change. I mean, without a doubt, that's changing. But I think, those leadership skills aren't going to be changing. So making sure that you show up every day and you don't ask anyone to do anything that you wouldn't do and be there as a human being. You mentioned that. I think that is so important. Happy, healthy people at work do their best work. It's a fact. So and our teams are going to go through change and our businesses are going to go through change, but I think it's going to be for the positive. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet.
So for me, I'm genuinely very excited. I think in 5 years' time, marketing will look completely different. I think our teams will be smaller. I think they'll be more agile because there'll be more technology involved. I believe that AI brings marketing to the fore when every technology is doing similar things and using the same data sets. It's humanity and creativity that is the thing that stands out. Mm-hmm. And actually that's where we have that in our hands because that is what we do. There'll be a lot of change. And to your point, we're going to have to take people through that change. Organizations will fundamentally change as a result of sort of AI and technology. And I actually think that marketing has the opportunity to be the biggest benefactor of that, to actually be driving what the future of growth in organizations looks like at the expense of maybe sales because a lot of sales processes will be automated, and actually that's where I see the opportunity. So I'm genuinely very excited. I think there will be a lot of change, but I think the next generation CMO is going to be very different, be equipped with very different skills, but has a huge opportunity ahead.
Steve, what's your final thoughts?
It's a very exciting time to be in marketing or in technology at this stage. So for me, there's never been a better time, and you've got the perfect storm of things happening. And what I think we spoke about is like, you can go and be anyone, you can go and do anything, you can disrupt any market. The barriers of entry to market entry are zero because of technology today. And so as marketeers or as leaders, you need to work out how you can provide a platform of sustainable growth for the organisation. And is that through recruiting the right talent? Is it for empowering your talent to take more risks? Is it for driving into new markets? Because how can you go and disrupt someone else's market rather than be disrupted yourself? Today, everything is possible. I think that's the most exciting thing for us. And also the other piece is the next generation of leaders, which will be Gen Zs, which are around 30% of staff in the next, by 2030, they are the I generation. They've lived with technology. We've had to learn it, right? We've lived through these evolutions, but the mindset's going to be completely different. Their values proposition is completely different from the way they value who they even want to go work for. They want to work for purpose, right? So even that mindset is changing. You spoke about growth mindset. It's the whole way that business operates and talent comes into your organisation is going to change. And we spoke about skills, I think, and what should leaders do to prepare for the next generation. I love the concept of reverse mentorship growing through organisations. So you got, don't even know what I am now, but I went to.
Let's not do that.
but you get talking to the next generation. You can learn as much from them as they can from you, or you can from board members. So I think that's anything is possible in this new world. So. And the final thing, the World Economic Forum, one of the top things that came out of skills in the future was creativity. So it's also differentiating what we can do as human beings versus what the bots and chat GPT can do, right? Because that's the thing. How do we differentiate ourselves from an AI? So who knows?
And I think we've already seen some examples actually of that, haven't we, of AI being used, but not necessarily the most creative way to get the best results. So it's going to be that human ingenuity, that creativity that really comes to the fore. Thank you so much for joining me in this round table at the studio today. Really interesting conversation. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for your time and insights. And thanks to you viewers for tuning in. I hope you found that session enjoyable.